Creepers left to rise, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and feel this can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spill drink as Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound, the clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around, 2,000 little fires, and ooh, your circle is spreading around from Mars. Keeping barely up with your pace, slowing things down when I wanted to race, catching up again when you try to chase. Feels like we're playing space. You always find a way to make up, right? Even when we're such a fly.
Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the freaking channel. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. We're going to start another vlog. Today is Monday. I just filmed... Oh, Wanda. I just filmed a monthly... Oh my gosh, what is wrong with my brain? This is wrong with my brain. This is a problem. I just finished filming a mid-month wrap-up. So you'll definitely... Obviously, you're going to see that before you see this video. So last week, I was just like going through books so quickly and it was so amazing. I was just having the best time. It was great. To the point where like I was almost reading one a day or one every 2 days, which is pretty fast for me. Like audiobook wise. And I kept thinking like I'm going to start a vlog, but then I would like get done with the book and I didn't take time to talk about it with you. So I don't know if that's going to happen this week. I 100% feel like I've just got to like try and preserve my reading mood, you know what I mean? Like I have to be happy with my reading. The whole reason that I even started a channel is because I just wanted so desperately to be able to talk about books that I was excited about. And this is coming up on 5 years of BookTube for me. And I just don't feel like it's reasonable to assume that your passion for reading is going to stay super high that whole time. So I've definitely, if you've been here a while, you've seen me talk about reading slumps. You've seen me talk about that this year. So I've become very protective of my reading. And I've also like tried to, what is up with this braid? This one is fat and this one is, it's fine. I've tried to do everything possible to make sure that my joy of reading is there, like over everything, you know? And sometimes that means like I don't read certain books that I think are going to do better in videos. Like sometimes I just read whatever. So anyway, that's, not sure you needed that information, but I told you anyways. So this week, what am I going to be reading? That's a good question. I actually just started this morning reading A Fate Forged in Fire by Hazel McBride. So my plan for this vlog isn't necessarily to do a fantasy romance, a contemporary romance, and a historical romance, but those are books that I think I want to read. So I started this book. I'm 28% of the way into the audio. I like the audio narrator. This is a new fantasy romance. I did have an arc of this I didn't get to in time, so I've wanted to make sure that I try and read this. It's set in Scotland in a historical type setting, but it is fantasy as well, so I do like the narrator that has like a Scottish accent. I like that a lot of the terminology in here is stuff that I'm familiar with from reading Scottish historical romances. So it is giving me a little bit of a medieval Scotland type of vibe, which I really like. I will say that I'm not entirely sure what to expect. I haven't really seen great reviews for this, so I'm a little nervous, but I also just wanted to try it and see what I think about it. Honestly, the most I've heard about this author, this kind of pains me, is her commentary on some of the comments that she gets on her TikTok videos. She is a beautiful woman. She's married to a very attractive man. A lot of people compare him to Clark Kent, Henry Cavill. And every time she posts a video about how supportive that he is of her author career, she tends to go viral, and she gets some nasty comments from women who are like, how did you end up with him? Like, he's way out of your league. And so for that reason alone, that's how I even know about this author. Like, I don't know why that ends up on my FYP, but it does. And so I am a little nervous about this book just because I haven't seen great reviews, but we're going to try it. And honestly, so I'm 28% of the way in. I was really engaged with this in the beginning. I really liked the setup where she is kind of keeping her powers hidden. She has fire powers, and her main plan, this is in a society that used to be led by matriarchs, and they had a lot of success there, when eventually, or currently, they are under the rule of a king, and he has the last dragon. And because of her like fire powers and other powers that we don't 100% know of for sure, our heroine's plan is, once the king dies, is to go and claim his dragon and then take her rightful spot, because there is some royal mysterious lineage that she has, take her rightful spot as the queen and put them back into a matriarchal society. And of course, things go awry from there. So how I'm feeling about this so far, first of all, I'll say the writing is pretty good. Like, the writing is solid. I'm not feeling that the writing is keeping me from enjoying this, which is typically something that holds me back from fantasy romance, unfortunately. So I like the writing in this. I think the heroine is good, although I feel like she's giving her so much power that she is kind of leaning into that ultra powerful female heroine, which I think is a little tired, you know. I am interested in the society. I like the concept of bringing it back to a matriarchal society. I am always interested in dragons, so we'll see. But again, like, I have found that I'm not super hooked right now like I was in the beginning, but we'll just see. We'll see how it goes and how I feel about it as it progresses. So that's what I'm reading right now. The other books I want to include in this are books that were on my TBR that were recommended by patrons. So one of them that I want to try and get to is, shoot, where is that? It's the new Harper St. George, Eliza and the Duke. I definitely want to read that. That's another one I had an arc for that I didn't get to in time. Story of my life. I'm super bad at getting to arcs lately, and it's just the way it is, man. That's just the way it is, man. So that is her newest historical romance. I definitely want to read that, so that's a priority. And then the other one that I want to read is Reckless Love by Willow Aster. So this is part of her Single Dad series of romances. I've really liked the first two. This is book 3 in the series. So yeah, those are the reading plans. But again, I am going to say subject to change. That's kind of one thing that has held me back from vlogging, is that sometimes plans don't always go with what I think I want to read and film, you know? So anyway, that's the plans for right now. I'm going to continue listening to this audiobook, and hopefully I feel a little more engaged and a little more hooked. And then I'll come back and review it for y'all. So anyway, hello, happy reading. I'll see y'all when I have more to say. Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the vlog. What do you have there, sir? Oh, his toy. It has been a few days since I last updated you, and I do have actually 2 books to update you on fully. So last time I talked to you, I said I had started a Fate Forged in Fire, and if I wasn't feeling it, I was going to DNF it, and I did not do that, but that does not mean that I was feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. And this book took me a long time to get through, unfortunately, and I should have just DNF'd it because I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it, and I feel like this book kind of sent me into a reading slump. Not like a huge full-on one. I just wasn't really interested in picking up books, unfortunately, and audiobooks specifically. So yeah, I finished A Fate Forged in Fire. I don't really know that, I don't not recommend it, but I also don't heartily recommend it. Like, this had a lot of things that in theory could have worked really well for me. Like, I love the whole idea of a society based on ruling matriarchs, and then a patriarch comes along who overthrows them, and then our heroine, who is a descendant of those queens, like, she's trying to get the last dragon to be the rider for the last dragon and to overthrow the king and put the women back in charge. Like, fantastic, right? Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. That sounds amazing. And it is amazing. In concept, right? And then we have a sort of enemies to lovers relationship that comes along with a rival who is potentially going to steal the last remaining dragon. So there is a lot of uncertainty in here. I did really love the dragons in here. I love the concept of that. I thought the dragons were good. The heroine, for her part, like, I do really love a strong heroine. I do. I know in the last few videos I feel like I've kind of complained about heroines, which makes me feel like, am I really someone who is understanding and forgiving of different heroine types? But this heroine specifically annoyed me. Like, she just seemed to be arrogant in the extreme. Like, and you know, I think there is something to say about following a main character, specifically in a fantasy, where they're uncertain about certain areas of themselves, or they have obvious weaknesses, right? I don't know that many people really love reading a fantasy or a quest type of story where the main character is 100% self-assured and confident. And I'm not necessarily saying that this heroine was, but overwhelmingly so, that's her MO. Like, she just has so much confidence, and that can be hard to connect with a main character in that way. Like, I feel like most people will relate or connect to underdog type of heroes or heroines, or characters who have flaws that they're aware of, that they try and work around. Like, that helps us feel connected to them because that's how humans are. And I do feel like she sort of leaned into her feeling like she was super strong, and I just didn't care for that particularly. I will say that I liked the world building in here. I also feel like it was delivered in a good way, where nothing ever felt like a gigantic info dump. We were revealed information along the way in a way that felt easy to digest and kept you invested in the story and the world, so you kind of knew what was going on. I will say that probably one of my biggest issues with this book was the breakneck pace. I've mentioned this before in some of my videos. I don't read books like this very often because I just typically don't like them. I don't like books that are super fast-paced, because that doesn't give you really any time to sit back and breathe and get to know the characters and what they're thinking and what they're concerned about, and like the emotional internal work or relationship work. Even if it's not a romance, there's always some type of character relationship work. Like, this is a fantasy romance, but that element was sort of lacking here, and that's the element that gets me invested. That's what keeps me wanting to turn the pages, is if I feel a connection with the characters. And if all we're doing is moving at a breakneck pace without much for me to care about the characters, then I just don't care overall, you know? So that was really something that I found disappointing. I will say overall the writing style was fine. I didn't particularly feel, other than the pacing issues, which I think is different than just a line level prose type of issue, I didn't really have any problems with the prose itself or the writing. I just feel like this just wasn't for me. I think that's the best way to put it. It didn't have enough interior character reflection work that I'm particularly looking for in stories of all types. And I think the character work that we got was oversimplified and over-exaggerated in a way that felt borderline caricature-ish. So yeah, I didn't particularly care for this. I also didn't hate it, and there were redeeming qualities of it, but overall, 3 stars. It's nothing to write home about, unfortunately, in my opinion. In my opinion. And again, like, I do feel like, I don't feel like this has to be said, but at the same time, I feel like I need to say it. Like, all of these are my opinions. I'm not a professional. This is a hobby for me. I just enjoy sitting down and talking about books. I do feel like I know a lot about books and literature and how they're constructed, but that does not mean that I am the end-all authority. So if you have different feelings or opinions, that's totally fine. These are just mine, you know? Anyway, next. So the next book that I read was much better, and I actually enjoyed this immensely, and it was Eliza and the Duke by Harper St. George. I was so thrilled about this because I really didn't love the first book in this series. So this is her new series, Gilded Age setting historical romance, and it is the Dove sisters, essentially. And so in this one we have Eliza, our heroine, who has to marry someone suitable in her father's opinion in order to get her inheritance. And so she's kind of resigned herself to the idea that she will be marrying someone to get money to survive and have a comfortable life, but she's not going to fall in love. So she actually ends up meeting our hero, known as the Duke, who is a bare-knuckle fighter, and they form a connection and a meeting. And I just have to say, like, I absolutely loved him as a character and a hero. I think that he was just so fantastic. I loved how stoic he was at times, but I also loved how he wasn't afraid to show vulnerabilities just gradually throughout the book. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about this book specifically, is the way that he very gradually opens up to Eliza and starts to show her more and more vulnerabilities. I think that this author, when she's good, she does character relationship dynamics so well in a way like that never feels over the top, in a way that never feels like she's not giving me quite enough. Like, she relies on building those character relationships in a really strong and beautiful way. And the way that these two kind of like initially decide to meet is that she really wants to experience life, just life. Like, she wants to go to one of these bare-knuckle fights. She wants to explore the city in a way that she wouldn't ever be able to if she ends up marrying this man of good quality. She will never be able to explore, like, the Duke's world, essentially, Simon's world. And so there is a moment when she's, like, proposing this idea that she will not reveal his secret because she finds out who he is and it's supposed to be a secret and everything like that. And she says, I won't reveal your secret if you give me one night in your city. And I found that to be, like, so charming because she doesn't spell it out for him like that. He takes her meaning as you would expect him to, like, one night, you know? And she's like, no. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go explore the city. We're going to have fun. We're going to do things that I wouldn't get to do. And it was this moment that could have just been pure miscommunication. And obviously, like, that's not a moment where their relationship hinges on, like, nobody's going to really get hurt feelings there. It's still very early on in their relationship. But I did like how she shows this is a miscommunication, and she does a really good job of showing you how each character interpreted what she said. Like, Eliza had her own interpretation and what she said, and Simon interpreted it as something different, and then very quickly they're able to, like, acknowledge that there was miscommunication here, and also, like, how they moved past it. And I felt like that was really, really well done. I really loved the slow, gradual buildup of their relationship. I loved the stakes that both of them had. Like, he has a lot of stakes because he has a little girl, a niece that he is taking care of, and I just felt like this had a really stellar amount of stakes to keep you invested in a way that felt real and compelling, probably more Simon's than Eliza's, because he's fighting for people that he already knows and loves, whereas, like, Eliza is kind of struggling with her decision-making process in order to, if she's going to get her inheritance or not. So I also really, really loved the ending of this. I felt like the ending was beautifully well done, and I loved seeing Eliza, like, step up for her man and really kind of be the one to make concessions and save the day. I felt like this was just really beautifully well done. I enjoyed it immensely. I don't really have any criticisms about it at all. I thought it was fantastic, and this is probably one of the best ones that I've read from Harper St. George, and I found it just fantastic. So I decided to give this 5 stars. I thought it was amazing, and yeah, I would highly recommend this, and so excited about this. Also a little bit sad because I feel like I've heard that this is the last book in her contract. So I'm not sure. So there is very clearly a setup for the last Dove sister and her story, which sounds amazing for book number 3. But I'm assuming maybe Harper St. George maybe she will have to do that indie published. I'm not sure, because I believe what I've been hearing this whole year that we've been talking about, like, historical romance is dying, like, everybody's contracts are expiring and not getting renewed. So I'm not sure what is happening with this third book, let's see. Okay, so I just went to Threads, because that's where I've seen Harper St. George talk about her contract expiring the most. She said on July 1st, people are really curious about Jenny's book after reading that scene in Eliza and the Duke. Don't worry, Jenny and David's book is on the way. The Dove and the Rogue will be out spring 2026. You can pre-order it now if you don't want to miss it. So that's very exciting. I am very thrilled that we are going to be getting another one. I'm curious to see who publishes it, if it is, because I believe she's with Berkeley. Is she with Berkeley or St. Martin's Press? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm thrilled about that. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I thought it was phenomenal. I have not had super great luck with a lot of recent historical romance releases, specifically like last year or even maybe this year. This one I think is a really standout one. Like, I really, really enjoyed this. So definitely 5 stars for this. So then, the last book I'm going to talk about, I haven't finished yet. I'm almost done with it. It is Reckless Love by Willow Aster. This is a contemporary romance, single dad, friends to lovers romance. I only have like an hour and a half left, and I do have to say that I'm super enjoying this one as well. Like, I love the setup. These two became friends in college. He was a football star. She was like a cheerleader dancer type of thing. And from the beginning that they meet, they have this connection and they decide to make like this friendship pact where neither one of them is going to, they're going to be friends forever, essentially, right? And so they do that, but of course, like, feelings start brewing, but they never really act on them except for like occasionally they have. So they had like a near miss. Anyway, years pass. He's a professional football player now. She is a dancer on the team. And there is this like rule or law where cheerleaders, dancers cannot fraternize with the players at all. So that's obviously causing like a conflict. He does have a little boy from, I don't know what type of relationship exactly they had. It sounds like it was not like a super serious one, maybe like a hookup type of situation. But yeah, like this whole series is just, they're just sweet as sugar. Like, so sweet. If you're looking for a perfect man in fiction, like, this is the series for you, because every time that I'm reading these, I just keep feeling like, man, these are the epitome of men written by women, and I mean that in the best possible way. Sometimes I definitely do want to read something like this. More often than not, I want to read about really flawed people, you know? But it is just delightful to be reading a book where a man is just like very pure of heart. He has the best intentions. He feels so much for her, and he is all about her. Like, I do really just love that. So yeah, I will come back with more in detail thoughts when I finish this book, but as of right now, I'm super enjoying it, and I am curious to see the resolution of this, because like, how are they going to make everything work with the restrictions placed upon them because of the job, and like, how is the friends to lovers thing gonna happen? So we'll see. I am enjoying it though. So yeah, A Miss, A Fate, Fortune, and Fire. Skip that one, probably. I don't know. I didn't care for it much. I won't be continuing the series. Eliza and the Duke, definitely recommend that one. That was fantastic historical romance, so really loved that one. And then Reckless Love. So yeah, I'll come back once I finish this with a final update, and we'll close up the vlog. So thank you all for being here, and I will talk to you as soon as I have more to say. Well, hello my friends. Welcome back to the final clip in this vlog. Let's close it out because I finished the third and final book in this vlog. I finished Reckless Love by Willow Aster, and I really did enjoy it. Honestly, this book, this whole series is very comforting. It feels very cozy. Some of the stakes, like, the stakes are theoretically high, but they feel very low. And I think that's mostly because they're easily resolved without a lot of drama, without a lot of negative things happening, without a lot of angst. You don't have a lot of emotional turmoil in these books. They're just really comforting. Like, I think that if you are looking for a book, a romance specifically, hi Wanda, hello, that has pretty much zero angst and conflict is easily resolved, and you're just looking for something that feels cozy the whole way through, this is the perfect book for you. Like, if you need a warm hug, this is the perfect book for you. If you are feeling like the world is just too heavy and too much, and you just want something that is going to be a feel-good book from start to finish, this is the perfect book for you. Like, I can't say enough, like, how important that is, because I think of the books that I have read when I have been searching for that feeling, and this is very much going to be a series. Specifically this book right here. This book I think is perfect for that because, you know, the first book is amazing. I really love the book, but it does have a pretty triggering incident of the heroine's sister, dying in a car accident. The second book I also really enjoy. I think I gave both the first and second book 5 stars. The second book I really enjoyed as well. That's like a teacher and her student's dad. Like, that's a very, very fun dynamic. That one has, I think, just a touch more angst. Like, again, when I say like touch, I mean like just a dab. Like, just a dab will do you, right? But this one, I feel like this is the epitome of if you are just looking for a sweet romance book that is going to just feel like no pain, no conflict, nothing really bad happening in here. Like this, you got to read this book, right? So yeah, I ended up giving this book 4 stars because honestly, that is a perfect thing to want in a book, but it did create this feeling of, I got nothing in my hands. I need my hands to talk. This feeling of, I guess the feeling of urgency of reading a book. For me, one of the main reasons I love reading a book is I want to find out what happens next. I want to find out, you know, I think that's pretty common. Like even in a romance, which we know is going to have a HEA, there's still an element in with a really strong plot of how is this going to work out? What's going to happen next, you know? And this book really doesn't have very much of that. There, you know, in the last clip that I filmed, I was talking about how is this going to get resolved? So for a while, I was feeling like, okay, how is it going to get resolved? How are they going to fix the cheerleading and the football thing? There's also a subplot in here where she's a romance author herself and she is writing under a pen name and nobody knows about that. And of course, she's writing a romance friends to lovers about her relationship with Rhodes, the hero. So there's also this element of what's going to happen when everyone finds out who she is, because surely that has to happen, right? And there are some issues with her parents. There's a brief mention of like some religious trauma that she had growing up. But by and large, there are those elements that are added, but it's just a dash and you don't dwell there, really. I think the thing that is maybe the most uncomfortable is some of her interactions with her parents. That, you know, they're not super accepting of her and she feels a lot of judgment from them and she doesn't feel like she can be who she wants to be, that they're not supportive of who she wants to be. And that is definitely, I could see that being, you know, painful for people who've gone through that, or, you know, I think all of us have, anybody on this planet probably has a good amount of parental trauma, unless you had perfect parents, in which case, you know, good for you and your therapy bills. But I think that, you know, the love story, which is for sure the shining star in here, like this is a romance where the romance is center stage and there's nothing else. It's full of just really beautiful, intimate scenes of the two of them falling in love and building their friendship. And I just find that to be really, really beautiful, you know? So I did give it 4 instead of 5, only because as we approached the end and I could see we only had a certain amount of book left, I was like, okay, there's not going to be any major fallout of what happens with either her being an author or the cheerleader thing or her parents. It looks like they just don't have enough time to dwell in painful areas, so I thought it's going to be quickly resolved. And, you know, I am a reader who wants to, I don't necessarily want to dwell in pain, but I want there to be impact, emotional impact that causes choices to be made. And a lot of the times the things that is going to make emotional impact isn't positive things, right? Most of the time when we experience change in our life, it's because of a painful emotion. It has become so painful that we can't stay where we're at anymore, you know? And I find that to be a very therapeutic and a really enjoyable, that's something that I really look for in books, in fiction for sure. Like I want to see what is, not necessarily what is the catalyst that's going to cause them to change, but how are they going to change and how are they going to grow through it, you know? So there's very, very little growth in this book, essentially. And that's like top dollar for me in characters and in fiction, you know? I really want to see the characters grow. I don't want there to just be a flat arc of me taking them through their life. Like I tend to get a little bored with that. So But overall, my feelings about this book are really overall positive because it's just lovely. It's a lovely story. He literally worships the ground that she walks on. He's a perfect man, loves and adores her, thinks that, you know, she's absolutely perfect in every way, and it's very much reciprocated, but she is really the one who kind of is held back, and he's constantly trying to get her to open up and explore this possibility of them being together, you know? So I did enjoy it, but, yeah, it just didn't quite have the staying power that I look for in a 5-star read. Like, and that's mostly because there's not a ton of change happening in the characters. They're very much the same people on the first page to the last. And also that's interesting because this book does have flashbacks to them falling in love throughout, from when they met in college to their current timeline. And even then, there's still not a lot of growth and change. They're very similar people, they're just a little bit older. Even though they've gone through some things, you know, like she has this tendency to just like fall into relationships easily, and they never really end up working out. She never ends up being really satisfied or happy. And he, of course, has his son with, you know, we don't get a lot of information about what happened with that relationship. And I also feel like, that element of it, like him as a father, was a little underexplored here. It's not crucial to the story. Him being a father isn't crucial to the story. It's very much just like he's a dad, so he can be in the single dad club, you know? So, but yeah, that's basically my review. A really, really sweet romance, and not to be confused with Closed Door, because there definitely was some steam in here for sure, but the feeling of the romance was very sweet, just romantic in that way, you know, but not in the way that feels to me deeply romantic, because the books that feel deeply romantic to me are usually earned by some real obstacle that they have to overcome to get there, and it's the fighting through that obstacle or overcoming it that is what makes that romance feel so earned and deserved, you know? So a really solid book, good writing, good characters, just not quite having the staying power that I'm hoping for or looking for in my romances. But I am glad that I read it because it feels like a little bit of sunshine, and if you're having a down day and you just want something comforting and really lovely to read, this is the book for you. So, do you want to come up and say hi? Come here. Oh, thanks. I don't know. She doesn't really like to look at the camera. Here. Does it, pretty girl? Huh? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trick you. I don't have a treat. Anyway, thank you for coming along on this week's vlog with me. I don't want any kisses. I don't want any kisses right now. I have to say goodbye to our YouTube friends. Thank you so much for being here, for watching this vlog. I appreciate you all. I read every single comment that you guys leave, and I appreciate all of them. I'm not great at responding to them, and I always tell myself I'm going to do better, and then life just gets busy, and I don't know. I sort of feel like if I don't have time for everything, the one thing I want to prioritize is making videos and reading. So I appreciate you guys and the comments that you leave. I appreciate my patrons who support me in making videos and help make it possible for me to continue to make these. So thank you for being here. If you made it this far and you want to leave me an emoji, can you leave me a dog or a black heart for Wanda? And we'll see you in our next video.